Hey guys, welcome to the 5th episode of the Learning Podcast. And if you aren't sure, it's simply a show dedicated to learning something new from every guest that comes on this show. And today, I'm very excited to have a very special guest all the way from America or the United States?
Both works, yeah.
Okay, both works. Because sometimes I meet Americans and they'll tell me that it's very sensitive.
That is true, actually, yeah. So we'll say United States.
So it's United States. So if you have any friends from the United States, right, you should say United States instead of America. His name is Peter. I met him at a networking session. If you think that networking sessions aren't useful, I don't think at all. And it's really the attitude that you bring into such events where you want to genuinely meet new people. And Peter is someone that I quickly clicked very well with, and we just talk about a lot of similarities that we have. And Peter, thanks so much for coming all the way to the east of Singapore.
Thanks for having me.
Because for someone from the United States, I know it's uncommon to go to the heartlands area of Singapore. So welcome to the east of Singapore.
Yeah, thank you.
So for those listeners that don't know who you are, right, can you just give a very quick introduction about yourself, who you are, where you come from, and what you are currently doing?
Yeah, definitely. So my name is Peter. I moved to Singapore about mid-March. Came here without a job. We'll touch on that later. But now I got a job here with a startup called the Gym Pod. We build gyms that are inside of containers, essentially. We have everything automated through a mobile app, and people can book private sessions through their phones. They show up to a pod, work out, and then get on with their day.
So if you had to move back, right, could you just tell me the story of how you decided to come to Singapore, of all places in the world, right? Why would you come to this little tiny island? Because I think people like us, or like people in my generation, will at least think that, or at least I have a lot of friends that see the American dream. Okay, wait, the United States dream or the American dream?
American dream, yes.
I have many friends that wants to go to America to work. Like many of my friends go to Silicon Valley and all that kind of allure that America brings. So what brings you from the United States to Singapore?
Yeah, and it's kind of funny. It's such a long-winded, complicated answer, and that I think I touched upon it. I moved to Singapore in March, but I made that decision probably around November, December of last year. So that 3-4 month period up to coming to Singapore, I had all my friends back home basically asking me the same question, why Singapore? And then when I got here in March, everyone I met in Singapore, why Singapore? And so,
I'm sure it's a question you get a lot, right?
All the time. And as I kept getting it, I had to kind of tailor it depending on, what the situation was, because one, I didn't know if there was enough time to actually go through the whole thing, and two, I don't know if the people who were asking actually cared about the real answer, right? I'll give you the full one. So it was really like a perfect storm of all these different factors going on in my life at the moment. So on the personal side, my older brother actually, he had quit his job and been backpacking around Asia for probably about a year and a half, something like that. And so, he's just traveling the world, meeting people in all these various countries, just living it up, exploring. And I was super jealous and envious, man. I wanted to do that. I've always had a bit of a travel bug myself. Obviously we both did an exchange program at Tsinghua Dashui.
Oh Beijing. Yes, both of us actually did an exchange at Tsinghua in Beijing. So I thought that was a very big coincidence.
Yeah, just different time frames. But since then did a lot of traveling in mainland China itself, and briefly through the rest of Southeast Asia. And up until the time I made the decision to move to Singapore, that 6-month period was like truly the best time of my life. So since then, I've always wanted to go back to Asia at some point and explore a little bit. On the side, personally, I was also I was actually dating a girl, right?
In China?
No. We're from both the same hometown.
Okay, that's cool. That's
Virginia. But we were kind of at different phases of our lives. Actually, I'd been working for a couple of years. She was still finishing up school. And I think I kind of maybe unfairly put some pressure on her, because I was always saying hey, I want to get out of here. I want to do these crazy things. I'm sending her links to go work on an avocado farm in Hawaii. Raise dogs in Australia. Okay. Just dude.
So that's a lot of pressure.
Yeah. I was just finding ways to not work. I just wanted to have fun and travel.
Oh, okay.
And I think, that probably put some pressure on her. And, it didn't work out. And she was, she basically was like, I want you to explore, do this thing. So we went our separate ways. And at that point I was like, okay, I really had the freedom to look around, go to Asia, and do what I want. So that's all happening on the personal side. And then professionally, I had been working in corporate America for about 2.5 years. And it got to the point where, I was doing really well, I was excelling, making really good money as well. But I just didn't see any future in that position for me. And I basically said, I'm not seeing any sort of correlation between all the hours I'm putting in and like what is the end result of all I'm doing. I don't have any connection to what I'm doing. So I quit.
So that was you're finding what do you mean connection with the kind of work they're doing in terms of satisfaction that your work brings? Would you be able to share a little bit more specifics about the work that you did?
Yeah, definitely. So I was working for a company called Freddie Mac. I'm not sure how you're familiar with the secondary mortgage market. Oh. Yeah, so it's kind of funny. Coming out of school, I got kind of trapped in the typical. I don't even know what you would call it. I wouldn't say a trap. Some people it's okay for.
I would say the word trap might be a different perspective.
Yeah, for sure.
The journey that most people go through.
Yes. But essentially, I was coming up the last couple months before graduation, didn't have a job, and so I was kind of panicking. I'm like, I need to make as much money as possible. I need to get a job because everyone else is doing it. How am I going to get hired? And so for a couple months, I'm applying to all these different companies every single day. Most of the time, no one answered me. And eventually, I ended up getting one job interview. And I did awful in the interview. Okay. I'm not joking. I'm a worthless job interviewer. But, was lucky enough to have a manager who took a chance on me. And I came in, got hired, fresh out of school. But in terms of the job itself, I had no idea what this company did and why their work mattered.
So when it comes to applying your resumes, it's more of a numbers game to just get whatever that's offered to you rather than being clear on what you wanted. But at that point of time, did you know exactly what you wanted to do, or like looking around your social circle, was everyone just in the rat race of I need to get a job, any job will do? So
that's exactly what it was.
Is that the kind of mentality in America? Because I think. Actually, it's the same in Singapore. It's
exactly.
the same in Singapore.
It is. I felt a lot of pressure because I saw like all my peers getting these really great job offers.
Okay. Like big companies.
Yeah, exactly. And I was like, I need to get a job. And so, fortunately, this was the only one that gave me an offer, so I just took it, right? Okay. But anyways, it was a general just business analyst position. Freddie Mac, they're in the secondary mortgage market. They buy loans from banks and they resell them as securities, right, to provide liquidity in the market. If you asked me that when I first came in as a new hire, I would have no idea what that was at all. I probably still don't have great knowledge about it, but roughly
better context than most of us.
Yeah, right.
So when it comes to like the working relationship with your boss, your manager, like how was he? I mean, what are the kind of traits that would you look in a desirable job? Let's say, I mean, not to put you in a spot like your boss at Gymport or whatever, but at least. So you're talking about the kind of work that you wanted to have a connection with, and you felt that you didn't have a connection with the job that you had in America. Like, so, what's the difference from the job that you have right now compared to, or at least what you had in America?
So for me, because I didn't know much about the actual industry that my company was in, I took my job from day to day as just like a personal challenge to just do my best, right? Obviously my team was a very small part of a huge ecosystem, and so I would just find little, business process problems to solve. Like, how can we do things faster, more efficient, just make life easier for my team and like the other teams that we interact with. But at the end of the day, I still had no idea whether Freddie Mac was, buying more loans than Fannie Mae, and that's probably more detail than you guys need. Okay. But regardless, I was just taking day by day personal challenges, trying to improve my skill set and make everyone's lives around me better. I had basically done really well in my first year. I got a promotion to another team within Freddie Mac. And that team actually was a brand new function within the whole entire company. And so I was given a lot of opportunities. Yeah, and a brand new challenge to basically take on and say, hey, we need to get this end result. How do we do it? And because it was a brand new thing, it kind of had that startup entrepreneur feel because we could kind of shape our vision.
So you're addicted to it.
Yes, yeah. So it was great. It was really good fun. And then coming up on a year, that was about the time where I had started to kind of go through the motions. I wasn't being challenged enough. And I really was saying now I think I have, the skills of working with others, how do we just take one sort of complicated problem, get the requirements, work with others and solve it. And now I wanted to do more than just improve business processes within Freddie Mac. I wanted to build something that had a larger impact on the world, really.
Specifically, how did you get a job in Gympod? Were you applying to other companies? Okay, I know I'm asking a lot of like multi questions. How do you get a job at Gympod relative to like so many other companies in Singapore?
Yeah, so it was a bit of an unconventional route. So when I actually quit my job, I started a personal blog. By the way, that is hard to keep up with. I don't know how people continuously blog. That's a serious commitment of time. But on my personal blog, I actually created a portfolio on the side, and I basically mimicked the Gympod's website in terms of style and structure.
Backtrack. How do you even find out about Gympod in the first place?
Oh, that's a good question. I actually found them when I was still in the States. I was just kind of surfing on these random like startup blogs within Asia. I'm not sure. I can't remember which website I found them on, but I saw one article. I saw this big bright yellow container. The concept of automated gyms. I'm like, wow, that's fascinating. And I saw that I went to their job, or they didn't have a job portal. So I was like, okay, well, I need to find some creative way to do this. But so their website, or our website at now, is structured in three reasons why you should use the Gympod, basically, right? And so I did a lot of research. And then also when I came to Singapore, I was like talking to customers, all this random stuff. And I just put all this information together and built a portfolio. And I structured it as 3 reasons why they should hire me to join the team.
Damn! So you actually have a blog post?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, so, I'll be sure to link that up. That's cool.
Yeah, and so what I actually did was I made it password protected. The password was hire Peter for success.
Oh my gosh!
And then I just shot an email off to the team, and I basically said, "Hey."
The founder directly. I'm sure.
The whole team. It was only 4 guys at the time, and one actually ended up leaving. But yeah, I sent it to the whole team, and basically said, "Hey, I just moved here from Singapore. I think your guys' idea is amazing."
Wait. You came to Singapore first without
a job.
Oh my gosh! You came to Singapore without finding any, but you knew about this company before you left the United States.
Yeah. That's exactly right.
Oh shit, that's ballsy. That's so ballsy.
But
so your plan was to just move to. So I'm guessing that you didn't buy a return flight. Or did you?
I did not. Actually, no. I take it back. Sorry, I did have a return flight because one of my best friends was getting married. Actually.
Oh, okay. Yes. But you knew that during your time in Singapore, you wanted to find work.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
It's like me flying to New York. I have no idea. I have no job. I know nothing. I'm just go there. I'm going to find something. Yeah. Respect, man. Respect.
Yeah. Thank you.
So when you came over, you got a reply within.
I got a reply. Yep. And basically, our CEO Damien, he basically said, "Yep. I'm interested to hear what you got. Let's meet for coffee." So we met for coffee, talked for an hour and a half, and then
wait. What do you talk about?
So we went through the portfolio, right? And then he asked me a few questions, and I gotta admit, some of the questions he asked, I was like, "Oh man, I have no idea what I'm talking about."
Okay.
But then he asked me to write a guest blog post for them, just because he wanted to see my writing skills and stuff like that. So we ended up coming back like a couple weeks later. We had another couple. We discussed a few questions, like strategic questions, like their problem statements and stuff like that. And I gotta admit, in the back of my head, I was like, man, I'm giving up a lot of information. I don't know if I'm even gonna get hired. This is kind of crazy. Yeah. But yeah, after a few coffee sessions, he eventually said, yeah, I think we want to bring you on board. So technically you
worked for free.
That's exactly right.
Like how long was this period where you met him for coffee until the time where he said, we're gonna hire you?
He was doing a bit of traveling. So I want to say it was probably about maybe 3-4 weeks.
3 or 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Oh, so you're just roaming around Singapore. I mean, your boss might see this, but like, did you have a backup plan, or was it like you didn't have a backup plan? But that you knew that you really wanted to work at Gympod because
I put in a lot of time and investment in it. What's kind of funny is when I was leaving my company in the States, people were asking me, "Well, what's your plan?" And this was about the exact time I found them online. And I didn't want to like say too much and commit to it. So I was like, oh, well, I'm just researching a bunch of startups and, hopefully it works out. I just want to find a job at a startup. But in reality, I found the gym pod and I was like, if this doesn't work, I have no idea what I'm going to do.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, I did all the research online. I talked to all the customers when I got here in Singapore, put that portfolio together, and I was like pot committed.
Okay.
So if it didn't work out, I have no idea what I would have done. So.
Do you believe in working for free? Like for yourself, you definitely did free work for about 2 to 4 weeks. Like I know at least many of my friends, right? At least, I mean, there's always very polarizing opinions about it. Some people would think that doing free work is getting a foot into the door.
Yeah.
But some say that it's just not respecting the work that you do. So, yeah, what's your opinion on free work? I'm just asking.
I actually, my friends had asked me too. They were like, if would you take the position, like a full-time position, if it was still for free? And
for free? Okay.
Yeah. I think at that time I was still so like eager to get onto the team. I was like, yeah, I think I would do it. I think in retrospect, I'm not quite sure.
Whoa. Okay. Yeah, but
I think that period though, where we met for a few weeks and I was giving my ideas and I wasn't getting paid for it, I was okay with that just because I was making such a drastic change in my career. Before I'm sitting in office for 2.5 years, no experience in how a startup really operates, and in particular this particular industry, like a fitness and tech startup. I have no idea, like no experience, right? And so for me it was really just like, how can I show this team that I can add value, and hopefully get the job, and I did. So it worked out.
Wow, this is a crazy story. Okay,
was a
so
gamble.
maybe sometime in my career I should do that.
Yeah, you should try.
Or do you think that such decisions is only a young man's game? Like you can only really do it. At least I do think so. Like it's a point of time where, at least for me, I don't have a family. I don't have a lot of baggage to carry. But yeah, do you think it's a young man's game? Okay, it's difficult for us to speak because I know that there are people in their 30s, their 40s. Sure. I really don't think that's possible. But
sure.
Yeah, do you think it's only a young man's game?
In terms of age, I really don't. I'm not quite sure. But I will say what the reason I'm so comfortable with it, and people always say, "Wow, you're really brave," and there was a huge risk, and it definitely was. But at the same time, I was living at home in the States. And making good money, and so really the only time I was spending money is for like gas on my car, and if I went out for like food and drinks with my friends on the weekends. But I wasn't paying rent. I didn't really like to splurge on like super expensive things. So I'm pocketing a lot of money. So when I came here to Singapore, I had savings,
a sizable amount of savings.
Yeah, I could
experiment.
I could afford to experiment essentially. So I will put that caveat out there.
That's cool. Okay. Recently I watched a video about goal setting, and it's something that I've been fascinated by. So if I were to ask you 1 year from now, right, what would be the things that happen to you that would make it the best year of your life? So on the top of your mind, like, could you just give me a few things that you feel that you want to make happen that would make it the best year of your life in the following year?
Yeah, actually, I'm going to answer this in two parts. I think at a very macro level, with the gym pod, I want to see us successfully start expanding overseas. And for my own brand, Green Guards, I just want to grow the brand as much as possible, start making sales, and really making a difference in the environment in terms of cleaning up the plastic and the rubber that we're using to make the product. That being said, have you read the book, The Startup of You?
No, I haven't.
Do you know about it?
No, I don't.
Okay.
The Startup of You.
The Startup of You. Okay. So it's written by Reid Hoffman, the founder of LinkedIn.
Can you give me a book summary?
Yeah. Oh well, because he's such like a serial entrepreneur, right? He's experienced in Silicon Valley and how successful startups operate, and he basically takes all of those principles, but says your own life and your own career should be treated as a startup essentially. So how do you take those sort of principles and apply them to your own personal life?
Bam. So what are the principles are you applying to your life?
One thing that kind of stuck with me, and I don't remember the exact mechanics of the language, but he was basically saying like a 1 year plan, a 5 year plan, and a 10-year plan in a startup is essentially meaningless, right?
Meaningless.
Because
just all meaningless.
Things change so quickly. I touched upon how we meet with the gym pod. We'll talk on our Thursdays, and then we'll meet the next Thursday, and things have completely changed. We have to change our plans. And so since I read that, I was kind of like, yeah, I think it is kind of meaningless to start making 5-year, 10-year plans. 1 year is a little bit smaller, so I'm okay with, making a basic goal for that.
Okay.
But I really truly take everything day by day now, like with the gym pod and with starting my own business, because things happen so quickly. I find that if I try to set these expectations further out the road, it kind of sets me up for anxiety and disappointment.
Okay.
Yeah.
What other books are you reading right now?
Books I'm reading right now. So I'm actually trying to learn Mandarin.
Oh.
I have one book that they teach you reading characters, but they do it in a way where they show like a picture and a story behind the character. And can you read Chinese well?
Yeah.
Okay.
Not well, but I did my A-levels Cambridge examinations in Chinese.
Okay.
But if there's one thing that you need to know about Singaporeans is that our Chinese is quite bad.
Yeah.
Our Chinese is really, really bad.
As I've been hearing, yeah. But basically, what the book explains is you need to understand a basic core of characters. If you understand those, then they become composite characters of other things. And so, if you learn the stories of those basic characters, those stories can connect, and you're just basically reading in pictures.
So when you learn new characters, it all makes sense because the fundamental
because of the story behind it. Yeah.
What is the book that changed your life?
The book
or
that
is
changed
there
my
even a
life.
book that changed your life? Or at least, what are the kind of books that you have read that felt that wow, there's so much? What's the best book in your opinion? I mean, from your perspective, that you would recommend to someone.
Yeah, sure. So the two that stick out, one would be The Startup of You, I would say. Another concept I'll just quickly touch on that he discusses is the concept of being in permanent beta. So in startup, the world, you're doing beta testing and you're always, experimenting little things and kind of putting yourself out of your comfort zone. And he said, you should always do that with your personal life as well. And I think I actually read that after I made the decision to move to Singapore, and that kind of validated my decision. I was like, okay, I think I'm doing the right thing here. So that was kind of cool.
Nice.
I would say the book that really has blown my mind the past few months has been Sapiens.
Sapiens.
Yeah, do you know that one?
By who?
Who is it? I'm gonna butcher his name, man. Let me Google this.
You can do a quick Google.
Okay. So Sapiens is written by Yuval Harari. I hope I'm saying that correctly. But it is truly one of the most mind-blowing books I've ever read. It goes into the scientific history of planet Earth, how humans even came to exist, how we transitioned from cavemen to hunter-gatherers, and then from there just how we are now, how technology has changed our lives so rapidly, and then it kind of gets a little bit dark and says how our development is going to basically be the end of us pretty soon here.
Sounds so morbid. Does it have a happy ending? It just gives us thought to think about.
It just makes you think. There's a second part of it called Deus, I believe, but I haven't read that yet. But I've recently just gotten into I don't even know how to describe it. You just need to read it. As I travel, everyone knows about this book, and everyone has a little bit of a different spin on it of what they take away from it. But for me, it's just an appreciation of how small we are as individuals.
We are insignificant beings on this earth trying to make our mark. Yeah.
So it's a mind-blowing book. Yeah, right.
So fast forward to your time in Singapore. Could you share more about the work that you do at Gym Pod right now?
Yeah, definitely. So the Gym Pod, when I first joined, we have 4 pods here in Singapore. Now we're looking to expanding overseas, hopefully. We're also just trying to find ways to provide more value for customers, right? Our mission statement is basically to provide the tools, the space, and the foundational knowledge to make fitness accessible for everyone.
So for those listeners out there, if you're unsure what Gym Pod is, right, it's basically makeshift pod, a very small gym located in convenient places for people to go to. So it will no longer be an excuse for you not to work out anymore. Is that right?
Correct. Yeah, exactly. And so I'm actively finding ways to expand more pods within Singapore, make them go viral in the rest of Southeast Asia and hopefully the world. And I think what's really cool is we're now taking technology and trying to find ways to implement that into the pod and into our app themselves to really transform the way people think about fitness. I obviously don't want to go into details because it's probably our IP, but like I get giddy when I sit down with my boss and we kind of strategize for the next few months here.
It's very exciting.
Yeah, right? it's like I would have never thought that you could take the concept of working out and make it like this. So it's really transforming everyone's current day lives and thinking about how it's going to be in the future.
Can you talk about the process of your relationship with your founder? Because I know that at least Gympod is a very small company, right? So like, what are the working dynamics between you guys which you really enjoy a lot, or if not, if you are willing to share, not enjoy so much, but it's depend on how you phrase it, or it's a perspective that you share.
Yeah, I think it's totally different than what I'm used to back in the States. So the Gympod, it's only 4 of us as a team, and so. You have the founder, obviously. My title is Business Development Executive, so I'm doing a lot of the expansion work and doing strategic partnerships. We have our CMO and then our CTO. But because there's only 4 of us and there's so much work to do, we really all kind of help with everything. What I really enjoy is the autonomy I've been given. So basically, the structure that we have is we only meet as a team in person. Once a week. So every
once a week.
Yeah, only. Once a week. Every Thursday we'll meet in person. We'll have an hour, 2 hour long meeting. Strategize. We have like a dashboard that we review our goals, and everyone is kind of in charge of a few different swim lanes. But we basically give our reports, and then we chat in that meeting on Thursday, and then from there. It's up to us to accomplish what we need to do. So there's weekly check-ins. We obviously have a WhatsApp chat where we check in whenever something critical happens. But I've been given a lot of freedom to do what I need to do, which is really fun. But I think the single most thing that I actually enjoy and get a lot of thrill out of is our agility. And when I say that, like. In these meetings, sometimes we'll have a certain task that we have to accomplish. And the next week, we'll come back and we'll basically say, this isn't working at all.
Okay.
And so we'll just have like a quick brainstorm. It's like, how can we change this business plan or this strategy? And we'll strategize together for another 10-15 minutes, and then we just move on it.
Okay.
And then we'll try it. If it works, then we're golden.
So you guys don't dwell on something that doesn't work. Decision making is very, very fast.
It's very fast.
And it's something that you really like.
Yeah, and it's like the 4 of us. We have no fear really to speak our minds. Like we'll always basically express like, hey, I think we should try this, or I don't know if that's going to work. And there's no hard feelings between the 4 of us because we all have a common vision of how the Gympod can be successful, and that's our end goal, right? I know, like my experience in corporate America.
Yeah, I was about to ask. I mean, relative to the autonomy and relative to the autonomy that you have, like how did it compare to?
So in my previous job, I did have a lot of autonomy. Like I mentioned, it was a brand new team, so I was still given some freedom to kind of like figure things out in a sense. But whenever there's a big decision to be made, I'm coming out of college. I'm the little guy. There's a lot of bureaucracy to go through. There's meetings, and after this meeting, it's okay. Now let's schedule this other meeting with these other people to approve what we just approved in the last meeting. And it's just a lot of yeah. And so the speed that we can make decisions with the Gympod and execute has been amazing. That's been something that I've like really, really enjoyed.
Okay, it sounds like you're having a lot of fun.
Yes.
I think it's very exciting. Can you just share more about your perspective as a young American in Singapore? Like, what do you think of Singaporeans in general? I know most of my audience, at least most of my connections that I have, right, are all Singaporeans. Like, what is your general take on Singaporeans? Like, anything that disturbs you, anything that fascinates you, anything that like you're just interested by?
I wouldn't say anything disturbs me.
Are you sure?
Yeah, no.
Okay.
No, so I think what's different, my journey as an expat or whatever is a little bit different than most others. I find that when some people move to other countries, they typically but they just naturally kind of
stay
move
within
into
their own
clique. Yeah, exactly. I actually made it my mission when I came here to Singapore to not try to just go towards the expat community. I wanted to make friends with local Singaporeans and
that's why we're here.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it's been good fun. It's just another experience to learn about how you guys have grown up, and I've been learning a little bit of Singlish here and there. So okay. I wouldn't say that nothing has been too drastic. I mean, it's just been just fun making new friends.
What's the one thing are you still not used to in Singapore?
Still not used to in Singapore. I don't think anything, man.
Okay, no.
I think I've adapted quite easily.
Okay.
It's a very clean, efficient city. The first language is still English, so then I've been smooth sailing since I came here.
Okay, another random question. What do you learn this week?
What did I learn this week? More patience, man.
Patience. Patience in the work that you do, like the kind of goals that you're trying to fulfill, or
I'm not sure.
Like patience resonates to me because like this podcast, right? I need patience, man. I feel.
How so?
Like sometimes I have friends that tell me that, oh, it isn't going to work, and I've only done it for a couple of times. But right now, I'm just giving myself the KPI, the key performance indicator of just putting out, doing 50 of this before I even think about any other thoughts of it. So I just need to improve my craft at doing this podcast. So doing something like this, or at least gathering an audience, you need patience, lah. So I don't want to think about like the opinions of others that much, but I'm just going to do it first. And I
was actually going to ask you that next. Actually, I want to flip that on you. So I've obviously been reading some of the comments on LinkedIn, right? I think there's been some really good reception. There's also been some people who are kind of questioning what you're doing here, right?
Yeah.
Does that give you anxiety at all, or like, does that make you question what you're doing, or you're very set on just moving forward with it?
Recently, I read this book called The Courage to Be Disliked. I'm still reading it.
Okay.
So it talks about how one shouldn't be too affected by what other people says, because in all honesty, they don't have a full context of what I'm doing in my life. But at least from the various sources that I absorb, the various type of content that I absorb, I'm a very big fan of Gary Vaynerchuk. And one thing that he talks about is basically not giving a shit about what other people thinks about what you do.
Yeah.
So, but I know that I want to improve my craft in terms of asking good questions and listening well, because I mean, if you were to ask questions and listen well, technically it could be transferable to all aspects of your lives, whether it's communication, relationships, working with your boss and everything. So that's one thing. That's from a very selfish perspective. This is a very selfish pursuit of improving. But how I see comments on LinkedIn, I see more of a fascinating perspective, like for them to even take the action of commenting, because I have a YouTube channel as well, linked up above. But I receive like very, very funny comments, but I see it more in a good light. And as Gary Vaynerchuk says, comments are simply feedbacks from the market. And the market meaning the macro market, because like the reach on LinkedIn is crazy right now. And the kind of content that I put on YouTube, right? Every single video I put on YouTube is I do SEO for it. It's not merely me posting content for just for fun, but it's more of an exercise for me. How can I own this particular keyword on YouTube? So some keywords I own on YouTube are NUS Business, NUS Business School, anything to do with NUS Business School. If you aren't sure, NUS is the National University of Singapore. So anything about NUS Business School, I own all the keywords. Imagine if you had a business that says gym equipment, and if your video pops up to be the first video, that's a very powerful business too. But that's another interest of mine in pursuing SEO and doing YouTube. But just putting content out there in general just forces myself to be in a routine of being used to people commenting, saying good stuff or bad stuff about it. But the reality is, I mean, I'll be very honest up front, right? Whenever I post a video on LinkedIn, right, I'm always like, oh shit.
You're a little nervous.
No, it's not even nervous. Like, I feel that it isn't a polished enough work. And maybe it's a standard set by my own ego. But I just do it nonetheless. And technically, right, I'm just following what Gary Vaynerchuk is saying. Just content, and just putting your content out there to see how it does. And don't let your personal ego be the judgment of how good a particular content is. And I just sometimes because this was a conversation that I had with my friend about mentorship or about books in general. The guest I had on my first podcast, he was reading this book called The Second Mountain. And basically what this book talks about is that there are only two mountains that we climb in life. The first mountain being career, wealth, and the money. The second thing is about relations. The second mountain that we climb is relationships, values that we have, family, all this kind of stuff. And the book generally summarizes that for you to be truly happy in life, right, go for the second mountain. The first mountain is not worth climbing for. And this book is written by someone who has like 40 years of life experience. And when I asked him the question of, I know this is going full circle, this discussion, but when I asked him whether he was going to follow this book, he said he isn't going to follow this book. And it's like, isn't that ironic? Is it our own ego not believing that this book will work? So that goes back to the why I'm doing what Gary Vaynerchuk is saying. So I'm going to put my ego aside or whatever thoughts I have aside, because I'll think that people like Gary Vaynerchuk, oh my god, I feel like a freaking fanboy. I would think that people like Gary Vaynerchuk, right, is relatively successful to who I am. I am literally no one. So for a brief moment in time, or at least for the first 50 episodes that I'm doing this podcast for, I'm just going to follow what he says, and I'll just see the results from there. So right now I'm just putting my ego aside and just following what the book says. Yeah. So that's the reason why I'm doing this podcast. Sorry, I didn't even know where the question was going already.
No, it's okay.
How do I feel about comments? Comments are simply feedback from the market.
So you
something that I really appreciate a lot.
Okay.
I'm very grateful to anyone who even takes the time to type a comment. I've been receiving a lot of messages on Telegram, and honestly, there's a lot of people who are really willing to be on this podcast, which really flatters me a lot, because I'm only starting out in my journey of doing this, and I know that it's something I'm very excited by. It's something that excites me every time I end work. So my goal is to, every weekend I'll just film a single podcast session. And if you haven't watched Gary Vaynerchuk's content distribution model, right, it's essentially you record a long form piece of content and you then break it down, chop it up to raise awareness on certain things, and that's exactly what I'm doing. And it excites me every day to be able to go back, go and work at about maybe 7, 8, and at night I'll just be forcing myself to post something on LinkedIn. So it's a challenge that I encourage you to do as well, to really just put yourself out there. And if you'll be, I'm just rambling on, but if you'll be super critical, right, you might be asking why am I not posting on Instagram, Facebook, and everything. And the truth is, right, I'm afraid of what other people think of me. I am afraid. Afraid. So, but okay.
It sounds like you've done a good job kind of tuning it out on LinkedIn, though, right? Would you sort of?
At least. Yes, I'm forcing myself to be in that pattern, but one thing I must say that the organic reach on LinkedIn is crazy.
So what about real life though? Like, have you found that anyone in your normal kind of support system is kind of like saying, what are you doing, or why are you doing this? And has that affected you?
Not as much, but I'm fascinated why they will ask me such a question, because the immediate thing they will ask me is are you earning any money from this? Are you do you want to be a pop star? Do you want to be like an influencer? And the true answer to this, right, at least I can say it right directly to the camera, is that I have no idea what I'm doing, okay? But I know that it's something I want to try. And to be very frank, right, one of the goals, because I was asking you about goals, I think one of the goals that I set out for myself, right, is to build a personal brand. And then I ask myself, why do I want a personal brand? Because I want to be able to, in the realm of marketing, right, I think building a personal brand is a testament to whether you're a good marketer to a certain extent. Of course, you might say that building a brand for a company, building a brand for entity is different from building a personal brand, but I would like to take on the challenge of building a personal brand. And to be honest, I am not exactly sure what exactly this personal brand of me will be talking about, but I just want to share my journey in just testing things out, my perspective as a fresh graduate. And again, from Gary Vaynerchuk's perspective, if I were to claim that I'm a life coach, right, who will listen to me? And to be honest, I'm not a life coach. I'm still discovering my steps on how to be happy in what I'm doing. And I can genuinely say to the camera and you and Peter that I really enjoy doing this. I really enjoy forcing ourselves to be in such a scenario whereby there are two microphones, there are 3 cameras, and there's a laptop here recording what we are saying. And I find it very fascinating, and I like doing this. And that's what I know right now. And I'm just going to do it for now. I believe I still have time, so that's the reason why I'm doing it. So I'm not doing this for any short-term financial gains, and so my end goal is that I want to build a personal brand, because I think it's a testament to whether you're a good marketer or not. And after all, my career, the job I'm in right now, I'm a performance marketer, so I just want to grow.
Okay.
So that's the reason why I'm doing this. Okay, so moving on, right, I know that the thing that excites me personally, right, is working on my own side projects. Like, I know I have a full-time job, but the thing that really gives me a lot of energy after working hours, right, is really working on something on the sidelines, whether if it's on weekends or at night. So I know that one side hustle that you have, right, is called Green Guards. Can you just share a little bit more about that?
For sure. So green guards are shin guards for football players, or as we say in America, soccer players, right? In Singapore, you guys say both, actually, I found. Some people say football, some people say soccer.
In America, they call it, is it rugby? Is it the kind where they tackle into each other?
That's American football.
So is that football?
No. Well, okay. Football in America or in Singapore?
In America.
In America, we call it soccer.
Oh, okay.
Yes. We don't really. Rugby's not popular in the United States, at least.
So Green Guards is basically it's mainly for soccer.
Soccer players, yes, and so it's the shin guards that you wear under your socks. I'm manufacturing them out of 100% recycled materials, recycled plastic, and recycled tire rubber, and we're actually bonding that with an eco-friendly adhesive as well, because some people don't know about this, but the creation of glues is actually really bad for the environment as well.
Oh, okay.
So I've managed to find an adhesive that's eco-friendly as well.
Can you tell me the story of how you got inspired and driven to do this? Like, where did you get the idea from? Was it a personal problem you had for yourself, or something that your friends got, or like how do you get this idea? Or yeah.
Sure. So I guess background on me is I grew up playing soccer my entire life since I was 5. Played for pretty elite teams growing up. Eventually got a soccer scholarship from a university as well.
Oh, okay.
And so for me, I've always actually wanted to stay connected to the game, long after I stopped playing. And I didn't really know how to do that with work because, like I said, I was coming out of college. I was like, I just need to get some sort of business analyst role. But so Green Guards is something that I've actually had in the back of my mind for about 5-6 years, really. Okay. It's something that was just so simple. It's like, shin guards, it's plastic and it's, foam. Like, why can we not just make that out of recycled material? But I think back then I didn't know enough about, sustainability and like how big the problem of plastics actually was. And I think when I came to Singapore, when I joined the gym pod, I was basically saying, I still want to launch Green Guards, but I think I need to like learn the ropes of starting my own business and that sort of thing. And I was going to wait a little bit, and I don't know what it was. Something just snapped on my head. I was like, it's so simple. Action. I just need to act on it. Yeah. Okay. And so the real key behind the story of Green Guards is I want to find ways to use the power of sports and that huge platform to educate more about sustainability, because you're starting to see it now with a few athletes, speaking out about climate change and just the dangers of using single-use plastics, that sort of thing. But it's not nearly enough of where it should be. Yeah. And the product of a shin guard itself, I felt the amount of hundreds of millions of soccer players around the world that need shin guards, by the rules of the game. Why not take something that simple, that accessible, turn it into something recyclable, and use it as a tool to kind of say... Spread
the awareness
exactly.
about a bigger, important issue.
Exactly, yeah. I want it to be kind of an entry-level sort of thing, just saying, like, this is how simple it can be. I think there's a misconception about sustainability that if you want to have, an impact, you have to be 100% vegan, or you have to like drive electric cars, that sort of thing.
You don't have to make it that extreme.
Exactly. There's smaller steps that you can take, and I think this is a natural one that we can use with sports. That would be powerful.
So, what are the current difficulties are you facing? Like, I know when it comes to, if you ask me to create a product, I have no prior knowledge on how to, like, where do you even source the materials from? Like, have you bought the domains? How what the difficulties are you facing? It's a long process.
It's a very
delivering
long
it to the
process.
customers, right? Are you manufacturing? You mentioned that you're manufacturing your shin guards in Jakarta, or not China,
not Jakarta. So yeah, so I'll get into that. So it's been a crazy process, and it has not been smooth, but it's been quite a journey, but
a satisfying journey, definitely.
Yes, yeah. So funnily enough, the first prototype that I had of these shin guards. I was taking plastic bags and ironing them with a clothes iron. If you do it at the right temperature, they slowly melt and they form together. And then when you let it cool, it hardens. And then I was doing that layer by layer. Myself.
Shit. Wow.
I was literally collecting plastic bags from random places, cutting it up, and just sitting in my condo, just ironing. And I was like, I wasn't thinking about future production, but that was my first prototype. Okay. From there, then I was showing to people, and they were like, "Wow, that's fascinating." But what's the padding going to be? And I like completely forgot about that. So, The padding itself is coming from Central Java in Indonesia. They're recycling the inner tube of rubber tires because a lot of times these tires are just illegally dumped in random junkyards. They're like breeding grounds for disease with mosquitoes.
Yes.
Sometimes people burn them into the atmosphere, which is even worse. So we're trying to find creative ways to do that. So I've worked with a partner who already actually uses those tires to make jewelry. Actually, this bracelet is out of tire rubber as well.
Cool.
Yeah.
Is it from what company is this from?
It's called Purnama.
Okay, we'll leave a link in the video description.
Yeah. Cool. But yeah, they do a bunch of fantastic projects. So I've partnered with them to get the rubber that's going to serve as the padding. As far as the recycled plastic, I eventually, after I realized I could no longer iron these plastic bags anymore, right? I just by chance found this guy on Fiverr. Do you know about Fiverr?
Yeah, Fiverr.
Okay, yeah.
Design a logo, is it? Design a website and everything.
They do everything. But I came to one specific guy to help make me a 3D file because I was thinking about 3D printing at the time.
Yeah.
But anyways, he created a 3D model for me, and then he slowly started to take an interest in my project as well. And he's based in Sri Lanka. And very long story short, I'll be now producing the actual he turned that 3D file into a mold for me, and we'll be doing injection molding of recycled plastics in Sri Lanka.
Sorry. What's injection molding in?
Sure. Yeah, so actually, if you asked me that 2 months ago, I would have had no idea.
Okay.
But injection molding is basically you take an aluminum mold, so it's whatever your product is, and it's hollow, and then they put aluminum around it. That connects to a machine that melts plastic, and then it injects it through a hole. And then that liquid plastic goes into the mold, it fills it.
To be the material for the shin guards.
And then once it cools and hardens, then that's your product itself.
So the manufacturing will be done in Sri Lanka?
In Sri Lanka. So I have recycled plastic from Sri Lanka. I have the recycled rubber from Indonesia. And then I'll be putting those together and then shipping them out.
Cool. Okay. Do we have a timeline for this, or
actually, so the website just dropped. It's www.ecogreenguards.com. So I'm just right now just pushing that out, getting the awareness out, because that's only been about a few days since it's been launched. I'm waiting on the materials to actually come to Singapore so I can put it together. But I'll be opening up for pre-orders pretty soon here. And then
do you plan to have a Kickstarter? Or like
I don't know. No, right now it's just all just
direct to consumer brand. Because I think there's a lot of potential in direct to consumer brands. Like, where your target? Are you going to sell it in the United States first? Or?
Yeah, right now I've been targeting the US and also Singapore as well. Funnily enough, I've been going on Instagram, and I've been DMing all of the national team players in Singapore. Just basically saying, hey, I'm making the world's first sustainable shin guard. Do you want to try it out?
How's the response?
It feels a bit like the job applications back in the States, but I've actually gotten 2 responses, and so we'll see how it goes. If they like the product and they want to try it out, then hopefully I can get some promo from them as well.
That's cool. Partnerships and all those.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so we are moving on to the ending of our podcast. I know that this is definitely one goal that you're working on. So I just want to ask you a very generic question, like what other goals are you working on? Because what other goals do you have?
I'm thinking that so Green Guards itself is obviously a very niche product with soccer. I want this to really take off, and if the potential is there, then really start merging into other sports as well. Like I said, the opportunity for sports itself to start using as a larger education platform is massive. So I have some things in the background working that hopefully, if this product goes well, then I can start reaching out more and really trying to harness the power of sports to educate about sustainability and other things as well. But yeah, that's my larger vision for Green Guards and myself.
Okay. I know this is to have an ending question, right? If you were to talk to yourself when you're 15 years old, I know this is a very meta question, but what kind of advice would you give him or her, like looking back at how your life has panned out? I mean, we are still fresh graduates at the end of the day. We are still very early on in our careers. There's so much that you can do, but if there's one thing that you can really share with someone when you were 15 years old, or what would you say to him?
Just relax, man. Take your time and relax. I think a lot of the decisions that I've made the past 5-6 years, I've really put a lot of pressure on myself trying to rush things. Whether it was coming to my first job, like I need to get something immediately, whether or not I like it or not, I just need to get a job. And that's not always the case. And two, I think even with launching Green Guards, I've had to learn a lot about myself and patience, because not everything is going to revolve around me, right? I have to work with partners from all these various countries. And I think I always try to move at 100 million miles an hour or kilometers per hour, since I'm in Singapore.
I'm not very sure about the miles.
But I think when I look back even 2 weeks ago, the amount of stress I'm under, it's like it's not always the biggest deal. Just relax a little bit, take your time. And if it's meant to work out, it'll work out.
Okay. Okay, to wrap up this podcast, is there anything else you'd like to ask Peter?
What's your favorite hawker stall in Singapore?
Hawker stall. If I were to be very frank, right, I'm not a very big believer into all those Michelin star restaurants, whatever.
I agree.
Okay, I don't buy into that. I have no idea why. But my hypothesis is that the best hawker stores, that if you ask every Singaporean, right, will be some store that they live close by to, because they grew up as a child eating from those hawker stores, and it's this nostalgic taste that you have, the smell, the sights, the sounds that you eat at hawker store that makes it your favorite hawker store. So I would say my most favorite hawker store is literally just next to my house.
Okay, and what's
and is it true? Like, what's your favorite place to dine
in Singapore?
No, I wouldn't say in Singapore, like in your life. My guess, going by my hypothesis, right, it would be that it's somewhere near your house. With family.
It's my mom's cooking. It's my mom's pho. Vietnamese pho, right?
Yeah.
So but I think that's fair, actually. Like even in Singapore, I've only been here 6 months, I guess, now, and living in where I'm staying now for about 4 of it. But my favorite hawker stall, I think, is just a little mala place.
Mala? Where? I'm a big fan of mala.
Oh yeah, it's just next to Boon Keng Station.
Boon Keng Station mala.
I don't know the name, but if you text me, I'll send it to you, and we can put it in the description if people
we'll put it in the description.
Okay, I eat mala like 3-4 times a week, man.
特辣、中辣、小辣、
大辣。
大辣.
Come on,
oh my
man.
gosh. Oh shit. Okay, you really like spicy food. 特辣 is a little bit
I was just in Thailand, man, in Chiang Mai, and we were doing a cooking class, and they were like, how spicy do you want it? It's like everyone. And there's a lot of Europeans there, and spice is not in European culture.
Yeah.
And so they're like, just a little spicy. And I'm like, I want it like Thai spicy, like as spicy as possible. And it still wasn't spicy enough for me, man. So
yeah, I love spicy food as well.
Do you eat dala?
Not as much though. Not as much. So the reason why I like spicy food is that, in a math axis, right, there's a sweet and sour, X and Y axis. Spiciness, right, is like the Z axis, right? And it spices up literally your life. Okay, analogy to life. But yeah. Okay, I guess, is there anything else you want to wrap up this show with? I think that we talked a lot about.
Yeah, it was good. It was a good conversation. I think my final plug is check out www.ecogreenguards.com. Tell your friends about it. Anyone who plays soccer, and let's really find ways that we can use sports to educate about sustainability, make a difference.
Thanks so much, Peter, for making your way to the east of Singapore. Really appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thanks so much for listening to everyone. If you are interested to get in touch with Peter, I'll leave a link description to his website and his LinkedIn profile and his Instagram handles, social media handles. And thanks so much for coming, man.
Thanks for having me. It was fun.
Yay!